Hello, welcome to sunny Axminster here in Devon, and I've just arrived and I'm looking forward to looking at the new shop that's just opened behind me. But first of all, I'm going to visit Colwin Way down in the Woodworking Wisdom Studios, and today we're going to talk all about chucks and hopefully some of our favourite jaws. Come with me and I'll see you down there.
Hey everybody, welcome to Woodworking Wisdom. My name's Colwin Way, and today I'm really excited. We've got Nick Agar all the way over from the States coming to visit us and talk about chucks and his favourite jaws. So Nick, come on in. Hello buddy.
Hello my friend,
then?
Good to see you. It's even sunny outside.
I know.
Brilliant. Hello everybody.
We travelled the States last year in 40-degree temperatures, and so it's lovely to come back to the same sort of weather. And really nice to have you back again.
I'm here in the Woodworking Wisdom Studio. How about that?
So, I mean, Nick, you've been a friend of the company, certainly a personal friend of mine, for well over 30 years
30
now.
plus years, I know. I'm losing count now.
I know.
It's a long time.
In all of that time, you've seen, like the rest of us, the chucks and the jaws change and increase in quantity and types. And as different people say they need a certain jaw, for instance, then one is born. So the evolution, as it were, of our chucks has been a fairly long road.
Absolutely, yeah.
So the reason for you being here, you were here in the UK for a couple of weeks. Happened to be passing. And we're going to talk about your favourite jaws.
Absolutely.
I'm going to do a couple of little demonstrations for you as well, just to show what we're talking about. But I guess these probably are the ones that are not as visually seen, not as seen as much as some of the others, you know, like the regular C jaws and the gripper jaws and things like that. These are some of the more obscure ones.
It is a little bit, and it's a bit like a menu these days, isn't it? There's a lot more to choose from, Colwin, and that's sometimes it's missed. You know, if you're a fish and chips fan, you don't vary off the menu for the spicy curry too often sometimes, and yet if you try it, you might not regret it.
Exactly.
So I'm liking that. As you said, we've got a much bigger variety of jaws available to us now, as the exciting world of wood turning is exploding with the things that are getting made and different materials. So when I've said my favourite jaws, some of them will be dear to my heart because that sort of goes back in times where you started and you've relied on it so steadily from the good old age, or the good old days rather. And other ones are like multiple uses now. That
sort of essentials.
Yeah. Essential is a good word, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I've just seen this out the corner of my eye. We go back, and I'm sure you know I have known each other half our lives or more now. We're getting older. The good old Axminster Super Precision back in the day was just the bulletproof fence, wasn't it?
I think what I've recognised throughout the world as being probably the best chuck that was available. A long time ago, that was when we first started one of those, and obviously all the jaws that we were accustomed to now were fitting to those. Of course, we manufacture our own chucks here in Axminster, literally just across the road there, and so we have a lot more opportunities to tinker and to make them better and better and better, and we honestly now believe that you're not going to get a better chuck out there anywhere. And certainly in terms of range, what you were sort of alluding to there, the range of jaws available are second to none. You can just see there's a small selection behind Nick and a few we're going to be talking about. So
I mean it looks good anyway. It's like showing off, but it's really nice. Those racks to hold the jaws on are really pretty useful things. It's not just to look good, it's actually they are very functional and very useful.
I think we're going to see some pictures later on of your work.
I got something called the chuck jaw wall.
The jaw wall.
But I'm in a school, you're in a studio. It's a little different, so I'm bound to have multiples of things. If I might interrupt, I'm going to go for some of my choices, and of course it's what you start with that becomes your faithful, like I said a minute ago. So I'm going to say the C jaws, which is what I buy a chuck with on when I'm personally buying a chuck, and a lot of chucks are given with that on, is my sort of staple, reliable choice. And of course with the SK114, particularly I like the kit where I can have my screw center. I think there's one behind me somewhere.
Yes.
Sitting on this. I moved it. That completes the package nicely. But for most everyday jobs, it's a multiple tool, isn't it? That
Yeah.
C-jaw, it just did so much. But not having to be trapped by your jaw size is a very nice place to be, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I liken that to sort of like a C-jaw family. It's with this starter package sort of thing. It's where you can add things like, as Nick was saying there, screw chuck, faceplate rings, eccentric spiraling chucks. They all fit that C-jaw, which is really, really useful for the beginner as well, you know.
And of course now the advantage over the last, the old chuck, is the movement of those jaws and the roundness of the carriers. And I mean, it's a very smooth operator indeed, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things. We've managed to get that diameter bigger, but also at the same time shrinking the width, so you're staying closer to those headstock bearings of yours.
With those integral threads where possible. Depends on, I guess, on the lathe it's going on.
Yeah.
But the jaws, for me, is where it's at. And even under closer inspection, some people might be expecting to see a regular dovetail. And sometimes people are like, oh, what's that? When you understand that little bite on the C-jaws, how useful that is, not only for perhaps gripping a shallow foot, but also that little extra bite that it gives you when you do your manufacture your tenon to grip hold of. It's a really nice thing. So that for me is, great place to start for all of us, and that's why they come along. I suppose if I move, am I allowed to go for another one?
You go
I've
for it,
got some
mate.
down here in front of me,
Absolutely.
and we're going back quite a few years again now. I can't dial the years numbers in, but when I first saw the O'Donnell jaws, of course Mick O'Donnell was the designer, or came up with the idea of these,
Absolutely,
I believe. This kind of nose shape that gave me space behind the work, and actually made me focus on not being lazy when I'm designing my tenons or a recess, and not have to have such depth. A lot of people will misunderstand that we need huge depths to grip with or expand into. It's the material we need to take notice of when we're using that. And the variety of sizes, it's like, which one should you get? We always say, well, whichever ones you like. All of them is normally the answer. But the smaller one too, I found myself zoning in and on smaller work, smaller bowls. Got to bring people like Bert Marsh into the scenario.
Of course,
here.
well, again, another great turner like Mick O'Donnell himself. But these jaws, I mean, that's what we refer to as an OD1, and they come in three sizes: an OD1, OD112, and an OD.
Not an OB1.
An OD112.
Nothing to do with Star Trek.
Nothing at all. So that gives you an idea of sizes, but you're dead right, and that is one of the jaws that is completely unique to the Axminster range. You will not find them anywhere, and as taking them to the US now, they've become really quite popular and raised a few eyebrows. And likewise, one of my favourites, especially the OD112s there, the middle size. Like you say, they just throw the workpiece further away from the chuck, give you a little bit more room to get around things.
For viewing the shape of something, for maybe some bit of sanding you might have missed or something on the other way around, just that general access. And also, even you start to use things away from their original idea sometimes in individually what you're using. I've used that little tubular section in there to grip dowel shaped objects before now, and it did that for me well for many years. But then, of course, we have another one I want to throw in here, and these are the pin jaws, not the pen jaws, the pin jaws. And these again are something that has multiple uses and can look a little bit strange if you're not used to seeing things. So of course, natural topped pieces we'll drill an appropriate size hole and they'll expand into, and they've got that really nice little grip zones in the side. But again, referring back to what I was just saying, I use these for gripping numerous things, whether it's a dowel or even small square stock.
I've even used them to drill with. Whole drill bits to drill with, or if you want to drill a pen blank, yes, there are the pen blank jaws, but those as well for holding smaller pen blanks. There's a lot
of holding power in there, and of course that's much less chance of slipping.
Well, the pin jaws have their name. They used to have a chuck called, or we used to use a chuck called a pin chuck, which was a round steel bar with a flat on one side and a little pin.
I was only talking about that yesterday.
You just slot in. Same for you, so wasn't it? Natural edge bowls, slot into a pre-drilled hole, twist it in a locked in position. Of course now, that when you get to finish the outside of your natural edge, you can take the tailstock out of the way and finish because it's gripped in a set of jaws. So ideal. Using those all the time.
Yeah, you still keep finding jobs for them.
Yeah.
Rather than having to manufacture something to do it. While we're still here, I keep looking at these button jaws. I know there's other goodies to come up with. I have to throw this one in. Now, I've been a fan of larger work, as a lot of you know, for a lot of my career and a lot of my turning jobs. And I've been fortunate enough to have some of the bigger machines available today. And this, of course, is one of my, again, necessary jaw sets. So to be able to hold button jaws, to be able to hold work to finish the bottom, or even partly manufacture a piece, because of course these don't always have to go in a complete circle. And with jaw stackers, which are some of the buttons that you have to hold up to sort of inch thick pieces of wood or more with tailstock support, this is not just something for finishing the bottom of your salad bowl or your plate always.
Well, I think this is a great opportunity to get in some of your pictures, because I've seen some of your wall hangings and your multiple offset wall hangings done in the same way with the metal stackers, to be able to reposition things and give effects and
safely. You know, we got to remember on jaws, on or wood jaw plates, as we might come to later. These are a soft button, so it's not like you're going to hack in and rough turn your piece from it. It's for finishing or holding something, but absolutely for holding out of shape pieces. The stackers bring a whole nother opportunity into the world, rather than just finishing a round thing. And I think that's forgotten quite often. So I have to go for this one, and I'm going to let you carry on a little bit more, Colwin, because you've got the smaller set also available on the lathe right now.
Well, I wanted, because I knew that you were a big fan of those, I just wanted to show everybody the correct use of the buttons, or the rubber buttons, in reversing and taking a foot off. But I wanted to also talk about the similarity between these and another one of our favourites, which are the wood plate jaws. If you could pass me a set of those wood plates. I've got a couple of sets on the wall here already, but wood plate jaws are one of my personal... One of my personal favourites. In that, if you take what we're doing here, so we've got a round jaw, obviously with 8 buttons on here, which then grip the outside of your workpiece. We're gonna do this one in a minute and take the foot away. If what you're making just is not quite the right size, shape, whatever, then wood plate jaws are a fantastic alternative. These are a particularly small set. I'm going to just demonstrate some jewellery in a moment, but these are a small set that I made to hold small pieces of jewellery. You can, don't know whether you can see that there, tiny little surface. We'll play with that in a second. But these are for you to bespokely make your own size. There's the wood plate bit on the back. And then you then fasten your piece of ply, and use a good quality ply to do this, something with no voids in it. And then you turn the recess. Now, if you wanted to, you could make that set of wood plate jaws big enough to turn a recess to re-hold the rim of bowls. So you could do the same thing that I'm about to do with button jaws here. So I love those jaws because you can make them suit whatever project you're doing, or whatever size of project you're doing. We're going to play with those again in a minute as well. But just in the meantime, let's just take that foot off one of these nicely embellished or stamped bowls here. So we've done the inside. Let's pretend now for a minute, because this is just roughed out. It's not sanded, it's not finished. Now we've done the inside. Let's say we've finished it. We've turned the outside. There's lovely punches in there. We just want to take this foot away. Now that's only a small foot. Me and Nick were having a conversation before, saying about if it's bigger than this, and Nick teaches the use of the tailstock for extra security. This bowl, however, is a tiny little bowl, and I've only got about 3mm, 1/8 of an inch to take off this, so I'm going to bypass the tailstock just to keep that out of the way for this instance. But remember, if you're going bigger than this, or if you've got a bigger foot, bring the tailstock back up. Make sure you've got a center mark in there first, just to locate into. Take off a majority of that foot, then you can take the tailstock away and finish that last little bit. Okay, like I say, we're nice and tight. I keep checking, and a good test to do on these is just tighten and stop just before you hear the first crack. Always say that, they always snigger when I say that. And then give it a bit of a tap, make sure we've got a good bit of security there. And I'm going to start with a fairly small roughing gouge. Not a roughing gouge. I'm going to start with a small bowl gouge.
I'm going to step back a little out of the way
in this,
and let you do your magic.
Thank you, mate. In this instance, a little 1/4 inch, lathe speed to 0, turn the lathe on, and then we're just going to skim that little surface away. You're holding on rubber, so a little bit of care. Just roughing the surface. I'm going to finish with the bevel, rubbing, and a tiny little cut. But you can see how quickly this is. Doesn't take 5 seconds. You've got free access. Everything's out of the way.
It's a non-aggressive approach, isn't it, Colwyn?
So absolutely.
You spent all that time making that beautiful object. Don't rush the last simple bit. It's the finishing part.
Now you could remember, I always say this, it's as easy to go through with the bottom of the bowl from this side as it is the other.
Yes. Another clock or another lampshade.
Exactly. There we are. So we're very slightly undercut there. I'm going to come back. We're just going to push the bevel across. Just try and match the curvature of the bowl. And we can just have a little hint of a line here. There we are, and then you can start embellishing, you can put lines in, you can do whatever you want really. There's a little bit of sanding to do, but look at that. It takes away the hold point. It shows people that, especially other turners that pick your work up, where's it gone?
It's such a better looking item. There's no hole in the bottom, or if there was a recess, you can at least hide the places that were visible where it was held by a chuck. It just finishes the whole job. I mean, you made that look easy, as you always do, but that finishes the job. How many pieces of work do we see around clubs, exhibitions, where that's nice, and you pick up the underneath and you're thinking...
It's a crater in the bottom.
Yeah, or it's just, you can see they've had to like cut it down to a nub and hand cut it off or something.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer, the button jaws, isn't it?
It's important, isn't it? You know, when you're making a bowl, you have to have a secure holding. So most of the time that will either be in the form of a recess or a foot. If you do a foot, as in a tenon, that gives you so much more opportunities to then redesign when you're doing this sort of thing. If you put a recess in, you haven't really got that many opportunities to change the design. So the ability then to take that tenon away is really, really important to what we do. And you could, if you wanted to, don't have to anything here. It can just be a completely round little rocking pole bowl.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and I learnt that lesson very early when I roughed out lots of wet turn bowls with recesses.
Right. Where do I go?
I don't know. Hundreds of them. Nobody told me. You know, you learn the hard way, but it is. To me and you, it's something we would never not have.
Yeah.
But sometimes showing people the obvious is just, it finishes the job off now.
Yeah,
and as you said, it gives us so many more opportunities.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's just get that one. I did sort of suggest that we're going to talk about one more jaw in terms of the wood plates and the nylon jaws. So I'm just going to swap this chuck out a minute. Well, let's put those nylon jaws on a second. Nick, you talk about them as in their brand new form. I'll get this chuck on there and show everybody what they're like.
These are the nylon jaws. I'm not sure if the camera can, if I'm in the right place even for the camera on these. Whoop, there we go. Of course, there's a set of 4, and they will fit straight onto the standard carriers with the regular bolts. And the thing that's nice about these guys is that the reason I wanted to talk about them is that they can be forgotten or even misunderstood. What are they for? You're now free to turn a shape you like into this relatively thick material to invent a jaw of your own. And that could be, obviously, Colwyn, you've got something kind of obvious in there at the moment, a pendant that doesn't really want to get damaged. It can be delicate. So as long as we're talking a round turn shape at the moment, it just opens up so many doors. And they're the sort of thing I put away for a while, sometimes months and months. And even though we've got 40 plus jaws available to
Yeah.
us now with Axminster. I think, oh, thank goodness I've got those, because they've got a strange shape. I was doing some other material, another composite material, which I wanted to hold, which is in a ring form, and I need to cut the inside of that, but I wanted to hold the exterior. So I used a little homemade hollowing tool, I believe at the time, to grip that ring, and it was perfect. It was perfect for it.
It's funny you should say that. Again, one of the late great wood turners, a gentleman called Bert Marsh, used to use these all of the time, and he done exquisite thin
King of the OG
style bowls, and his feet were always a lovely little concave. And he used to create that concave in here, didn't he? And hold that with loads of bits of rag and all those sorts of things.
He put a bit of paper towel in there, but he'd measure it to the exact size. So when he pinched it and closed them, he didn't get a crimp mark.
No.
And that's the sort of thing we're looking for here with these jaws too. And what's interesting that Colwin's going to show you on the set he's bought in from, I believe you bought these personally from home, is the offset. So you have your own ideas. You far away with that one now.
Yeah, so this is a little set that I've made especially for doing things like these little offset pendants, and I do quite a few of these. This is a beautiful piece of zero coaty, but yeah, just little offsets. Now I start throwing things on the floor. I start off with these in the little wood plate jaws, and let me just grab one of those. Lovely. So we start as a round held in there. I'll turn one side and then flip them over, turn the other side, and it's at that point when we'll have a disc similar to that, then they can be held in the offset jaws and that center offset hold turn. So it's quite a good opportunity to do this type of thing. Now, I haven't turned this. I overthought this idea for quite a long time. In fact, I've clamped this under a pillar drill and drilled 3 decreasing hole sizes. So we've got the maximum size here, which was 50 mil, so nearly 2 inches, and then the next size down, next size down. So just literally clamped in a pillar drill, change the drill size, bang, 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 and that then gives you the opportunity to be able to hold your offset pendant in the jaws nicely, if I can get them lined up properly. Obviously, once you take it out, don't put it back in again because it's difficult to line them up. But once you've done one hole, flip it, turn the other hole, and that's one of the only jaws, apart from the wood plate jaws, that you could do exactly that sort of thing with. And it's a relatively low-cost item, this one. If you think about eccentric chucks, they can cost quite a lot of money. But if you can just drill a set of jaws like this, either this or the wood plate jaws, job done. And it just gives you another option, another variation.
I want to step in. It's just, I want to make people understand that that's offset.
Yeah.
It's not in the middle, anywhere near it. And that's, delicious more opportunities for partial strikes. I mean, the wood jaws, of course, you can turn up to and hit and not worry because you're just turning into some wood material. This is more of a sort of holding for finishing jaw, but it really is. It does have such a huge value, and I put that on my favourites or want to shows today because it's so useful. It's so useful.
I think without realising, we both hit a theme here, and we're looking at jaws. A lot of these jaws that don't limit you, they allow you to create your own jaw, your own bespoke fixing point,
or fit in the family. So you can go from your C's to this, from your O'Donnell to this. They'll all they all have so many potentials.
More than just dovetails, more than just grippers, more than all those things. You've got the opportunity to create your own things. Really.
Yeah, and components. Now there's so much going on in the world of turning with different materials, of course, with your resins and things, but building up in layers, if you're laying something into something simple as a tray or a platter or table mats or pendants, we've got that ability to layer stuff up instead of just one set of jaws, make my object, and I can't change it because that's all it fits. It's just really is advantageous, and we're very lucky, aren't we? I mean, you and I, we spent, I don't know, a lot. What was it? Me and you and Jimmy in years. It was something like 130 years between us.
Yeah, it was well over 100.
Made us feel very old. But I still either getting old and forgetful, and having a new idea feels great, or you've got such a back catalogue of ideas that you can suddenly go, oh, I remember. I can go back and reach for those, and oh, I can do that new idea. You know, the one that you sort of lie awake at night thinking about. How can I do that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. A lot of these come from woodturners' ideas. You know, all of them really. And yeah, what a journey, what a distance.
Still got this is going to sound like a selling point. I suppose it is, but I am an ambassador for the chucks, of course, in the US. And if I'm going to back something up, it has to have integrity. But we do talk about precision. You know, things are made on site here. The precision, the way the chuck actually works and comes together, the way you can service it and check things are lining up, as you always should when you assemble jaws, by closing them together fully before you tighten your nuts and bolts, as it were. But that's the thing, it does have precision. You know, there are others out there that just out the box new. I think it comes pre-wobbly, you know. And you think, really, why is it even available? And that's something we become relied on, don't we? So we may take it for granted that we have good, solid, honest equipment to use.
We've been on that journey and been lucky enough to be working with these chucks pretty much all our lives.
Yeah,
so,
it's like anything. You get in a stranger car and you're like, I wouldn't buy one of these. You know, you drive something reliable.
I remember as an apprentice, my first chuck I ever bought was a whole month of my wages. So just to give you an idea of value for money, hasn't really changed that much. In fact, I think they've probably come down if you talk like that.
It is an investment, but it's one of the most necessary things you're going to purchase. Your chuck. You know, you get good shoes, get a good mattress, get a good chuck.
Unless you're a spindle turner.
Unless you're a spindle turner, they might say. But even then, if you're a spindle turner, building composite pieces up to add to that now is still an investment, isn't it?
It is. Nice one, Nick. Well, thank you very much. Just before you go, though, look, I've been very, very lucky to have been to Nick Agar Studios, but I'd like you just to explain a little bit more about where you are in the US, what it's all about, and what sort of courses
you to let me have this
are available.
This window, if you like. So you're coming back, I hope, soon again too, because we've got some hungry students waiting for you across the pond. It's a little far to fly to Axminster from some of America. So Nick Agar Studios is, the nearest airport is Savannah, Georgia, and I've put together a very unique school with its own flavour, let's say, with all bells and whistles. You just need to turn up with your smock and everything else is provided. There are small groups up to 6 people at a time. And we have 2 studios, one with all the wood turning lathes in and all the cameras and jigs and things that we need to be able to see what somebody like Colwin, if he's demonstrating or teaching, so the students can watch that. And then the second studio is where we sit down, we do airbrushing, micro power carving, and everything, all the bells and whistles and toys that one needs to play with these days. And of course, a whole wall of Axminster chucks and accessories.
That's it. I was going to say, probably one of the best equipped workshops I've ever seen. Really nice.
People are going to think, oh, he's just saying that now.
No, I've been there. And in fact, look at some of the pictures that will be coming up in a minute. You'll see exactly what we're talking about.
Catering for small groups and giving them the best.
But it's the feeling at your place.
Best experience possible, I think. So it's nice of you to say, try to create an atmosphere, a professional but inspiring one. That's what I wanted to.
Quirky decor?
Definitely quirky. There's a few axes on the walls and odd woodworking paraphernalia. And the odd bit of horse harness hanging up, probably because I just liked it. And if it was rusty somewhere and I didn't know what it was, it probably got put on the wall too. So there's axes, there's planes, there's all kinds of stuff. But it's a fun place to be, but it's a serious learning place. You know, that's the important bit. And in Brooklyn, which is in Georgia. So if you don't know where Georgia is in the States, most people know Florida. If you go up left, that's California, and up right is the East Coast, and we're just past the bend. Next state on to Florida there. So if you were visiting the area, then I would hope you would look me up. I mean, you know, Atlanta is the nearest city to me, but the coastal area around me is gorgeous. And I'm very happy to be there. But it's been great to come back home, as it were, and I couldn't not come past the door without coming in. And really thanks for inviting me in. And genuinely, you know, this is this is how we feel about stuff. It's not like we're making up a new story. It's
We're
been a
not forced
lot
to do
of
this.
our lives. We're not forced
Absolutely.
to it. It's been a pleasure to do that. And the new shop is amazing, everybody. If you get a chance to call into that, it's literally next door to the factory here, and you've kind of got it all under one place now.
Yeah.
So
we had a look over early, didn't
there's
we?
always
That's good.
something you didn't know you needed every time.
Nice one, Nick.
Now,
Now, all the links to all the jaws that we've been talking about are going to be on the video below, as well as the link to Nick Agar Studio. So if you're really interested, and if you can get there, and you might even be in the area, look up the courses that are available and go pay Nick or I visit there.
Absolutely, or exactly. So you'll be seeing him over at Nick Agar Studios later this year for sure. So we'll probably do another post about that. But great to see you, my friend. Really
Thank you
appreciate
very
it.
much.
Thanks very much, Axminster. Stay sharp, everybody. Stay safe. And I think I fancy a cream tea.
Oh, cream tea.
I'll leave you at work and I'll be thinking of you, all right?
Nice.
See you, buddy.
Thanks, Nick. See you later. Well, look, thanks everybody very much. Don't forget, I say it every single time, if you like what you see, give us a thumbs up, share us around, and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, bye-bye.